check. Hello, is this thing on? I think it is. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing good today. We're coming in with a second episode. I believe it's the second episode. I know it's been a while. But I believe it's the second episode of Polar Opposites. The whole point of this episode is going to be about healing with mental illness, really. Because it's come to my understanding over the years, of my own struggles with mental illness, with substance dependency. I don't like to say substance abuse because I don't consider like recreational use, substance abuse. I consider addiction substance abuse, absolutely. But I also believe there's a fine line between addiction and dependency. Dependency is not the same thing as addiction. I want to make that very clear. And so anybody who thinks that dependency is addiction, you're vastly mistaken, because then that would classify every person who uses, for instance, ADHD medication to treat their ADHD, or an SSRI for depression, or an anti-inflammatory for arthritis. That would put all of them in the category of addicts. So that's why I say there's a very fine line when we're looking at that reality. Now I digress because that's off topic. But I guess maybe not. I mean, if you go to drugs as your route to recover, if you're constantly trying to escape a reality, whether it's gaming, sex, drugs, partying, being around people, because, when you're alone, you start getting those pesky thoughts that bother you. Those are all ways that basically your lower self, the lower piece of who you are, your devil energy, if you will, is trying to take you in a direction that's not for you. Because what is for you is to sit there and to cry about it. And I know that this can be very difficult, especially when you have mental illness. I know all too well. I've suffered from bipolar most of my life, and it wasn't until last year that I decided to not suffer from it anymore. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You heard me correctly. I decided to not suffer from it anymore. Because when we suffer from something, that means that it's something that has control of us, right? It's something that it's something that's happening to you, and that's the problem. I believe that is the main issue that most people have, is that they feel that depression is happening to them. They feel that bipolar is happening to them. Your anxiety is happening to you, is how most people perceive it. However, I'm here to tell you that that's not what's going on. This thing is not happening to you. Just like when somebody dies, that loss is not happening to you either. It is something that you're experiencing. Okay? The feelings that you have, these feelings that make you anxious, the feelings that make you erratic, impulsive, they're not happening to you. They are you. You are all of that, all wrapped in one thing. And that's where the disconnect happens. I feel like the biggest problem that a lot of people have, and why we have so much mental instability primarily in this country. If you look over in like India and stuff like that, I feel like in the East, there's a lot of people have a lot more, security in them, in self, and that's because the teachings over there fundamentally, you know, hit on those realities. What I mean by that is, you know, like Hinduism is you know, it's often mistaken as a religion, which it is a religion. Don't get me wrong, but I inherently view it more as a philosophy, an understanding of life itself, knowledge, and what it is to be I. You know, I feel like that's, you know, Buddhism is in, you know, that same category. However, I feel that Buddhism is not a religion at all. I feel that Buddhism is a psychotherapy, designed to help people learn that there is nothing you can do to change anything, who you are, what you are. But it's good, and it's a very liberating feeling to learn what you are, to learn what this thing is that we call consciousness, what it is to just experience its, you know, just to be experience itself, because that's what you are, right? You are experience. You're this conscious energy that has manifested itself in this manner. And you are experiencing such a priceless experience. You are the ultimate drama, right? The ultimate comedy. And that is life. Life is the biggest and most beautiful play that any of us could ever be involved in. And you're the character. You're the main, whatever you want to be. You want to be the protagonist, the antagonist, you know, I mean, whatever. You're it. You're the number one actor, baby. So, lighten up. Why are you so sad? That's what took me a long time to realize. I don't do what most people do. You know, I don't jump from relationship to relationship. I don't go out looking for, you know, looking to get my, you know, wet, you know. I just, you know, I mean, I was 20 once, okay? And I had my fun, man. You know, I did. I had my fun. You know, I've already had my notches on the fucking headboard, as they call it. But I'm just not that way anymore. And to be honest with you, even back then, I wasn't that way. I was just, I was trying to be somebody I'm not, I guess. You know, I always find that funny, you know. I mean, that's why, you know, I found it really, really not a good idea to take advice. You know, I used to think that advice was a good thing. And then I learned that advice is a horrible thing. And it's because you're making a decision that somebody else thinks you should make. And that's never gonna, it just doesn't end well. Every time it's ended in disaster. And it's really funny when you look at the paradox that's created by, you know, by living somebody else's decisions, because that's exactly what it is. You know, and it's also, it's ironic how a lot of times, you know, we'll take the advice of the person that is probably the worst person to take advice from. And that's just because oftentimes the worst person to take advice from tends to be, you know, the person that's most miserable that you're hanging out with. And, and you guys know how misery loves company, right? It's just so ironic. I mean, it's like when I want to be sad, I surround myself with sad people, you know, or like, it's just, I just think I think it's funny, you know? I also think it's really funny how, you know, until you start really realizing the lessons in life, and that every lesson came without even thinking about it. And what I mean by that is that every change that you've ever made, you've never thought about it. You might have thought about it at one time, but that's not when you changed it. You know, it's, I think that if anybody really sits down and self-reflects and they look back on their life, I think they'll find the same thing that I did, where you look back and you go, oh man, I quit drinking like 5 years ago. And you just don't even realize it, because when you quit drinking, it wasn't just an active thought. I didn't, you have that person who's about to, of course, they go and they have cirrhosis of the liver and they're like, oh, I'm gonna, I better quit drinking. Well, I mean, yeah, it's called your survival instinct was like, wow, we better put this shit down. I mean, that's typically what happens when you get told, yeah, so if you don't stop that, you're gonna die. Especially from a doctor, when you get told that from a doctor, then shit out of nowhere just becomes very real, and you're like, whoa, and your body's like, whoa, yeah, it's time to quit. And so it's still, again, that was not a constructive thought process that made that happen. That was if you don't stop, you're going to die. And so that's not constructive. That's just pretty much, here's the ultimatum. Death is the reality. And I mean, that inherently, that just makes anybody subconscious, because I mean, we all have this pesky thing called a survival instinct. That's like the person who's starts running, running from fear. I mean, from fear itself. I mean, the only thing to fear in life is fear itself. Because look, let me tell you something. You're gonna die. We're all gonna die. So fearing that is there's no point. Hell, even fearing the process of dying is futile. It's all futile, because I guess in a sense you can make that decision. I guess if somebody's a smoker and they smoke for 40 years, and then they die from emphysema or something, I guess then you decided how you were going to die, in a sense. But I don't think that even still, I mean. There's so many complications that come from smoking, like, heart disease, lung disease, whatever. And so I don't think you really sat there and you're like, you know what, I'm going to get emphysema, and that's what I'm going to die from. Look, I don't think that anybody actually, well, I mean, I might put my foot in my mouth with this statement, but I don't really think that anybody actually wants to die. I would go so far as to say that even the person who commits suicide, I don't think that they actually want to die. I think that just about anybody would much rather life get better, or get to a place where they feel they could bear it, instead of dealing with, a never-ending depression or a sadness. There's all these people that they get on medications, and I often pity them. I'm very proud of my mom, by the way. My mom stopped using all medications. That is absolutely a feat. When I did that, it was absolutely one of the hardest things I ever did. The only medication I use now is my ADHD medication, which is regulated. And I do it to concentrate, because unfortunately, ADHD is an ailment which I have not found any way to be able to deal with it other than amphetamines. I've tried everything else. Meditation. It's just, I'm sorry to all the Buddhists out there, but unfortunately, meditation is not the one all save all. It's just not. We do have physical ailments on this realm that, in my opinion, unfortunately, sometimes there's no amount of meditation that you can do, or, chakra aligning or any of that that's going to make it go away. It's just the way that some of us are built. However, there comes like these superpowers, I always say, that comes with some kind of mental illness. The one that comes with ADHD is this ability to hyperfocus. Especially, it's now the hyperfocusing comes from your interests. So the drawback is it is almost impossible to focus. Let me rephrase this. It is impossible to focus on anything you just quite frankly, don't want to do. It takes an act of Congress to get you to do what you don't want to do. I mean, and that's just reality. I mean, um, it's just because the way of, I guess the way that an ADHD mind is made is it's like, ooh, squirrel, I mean, and we say squirrel, but really it's like, ooh, I'm interested in that. And that's what it is, and so you start going for it. Whereas, you know, as soon as it's something you're not interested in, you're like, I'm sorry, you said what? Oh, no, it's just really boring, and you just can't, you can't focus on it. You're like, can you repeat that? And eventually you feel sorry for whoever, or whatever is, you're doing, because you're just not there. I mean, that's the real. You're there, but you're not. You're there, and it's like, man, oh, dude, I need to finish doing that thing in that video game. Um, and you're still hearing wah 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 wah, but you're like, oh, dude, did I put on deodorant today? Oh man, I didn't. I forgot that load in the washing machine. And then you get called on. You're like, we weren't talking about folding my clothes, right? Oh, you guys can't smell me. It's only me. I mean, it's it's like those things. I mean, it's embarrassing. Only to you, really. Because I think everybody's crazy, to be honest. And I think these names for these different illnesses, I mean, they're just different ways of describing somebody's personality, or lack thereof. We see that a lot, which is really sad. Where you have these people out there, they don't even see their own worth. It's yeah. I see this time and time again. Spirituality for me really kind of changed that. I even chalk it up, and I'll be honest with you, I chalk it up to, I believe that Buddhism and all that stuff, Hinduism, things like that, I believe those are all spiritual practices. I think, I think that religion is inherently evil, and it's here to control. I mean, any religion that goes on crusades, or blows up cities, because God told them to. I mean, you should evaluate what you believe in, because I mean, I'll tell you right now, that ain't God. Because God's not. That's something other than God. Well, I mean, really, the Taoists would go, well, actually, God is both the light and the dark. Of course, that would. So you don't want to argue with the Taoists on something like that, because they're gonna really put it to you. Because then it's gonna turn into, a 300-hour debate on, is does good and evil exist? Are they the same thing? Whatever. My point being, I think there's only one way to heal. And it's by going inside. And it's often I say this because it's really funny how you'll meet Christians who, they're just so Christian, and they're so godly people, but yet they don't know how to forgive. And you're sitting there, you're like, well, isn't that kind of like the forefront of your religion is forgiveness? Because it is. And forgiving isn't. Let me tell you what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not, oh, I forgive you, don't ever come around me again. That's not forgiveness. Okay, that is like, oh, I'm telling you this so I feel better, but I don't want you around me because I'm actually still mad at you, okay? Because I didn't actually forgive you. That's what that is. That's what that actually is. Now, what is real forgiveness? Real forgiveness is, oh, I forgive you for what you've done to me, that it really hurt me. I'm not going to hold it against you. I understand people make mistakes. Yeah, you're welcome to come. You want to come over and have a drink? Yeah, you can come over and have dinner. Absolutely. You want to come over and talk? Absolutely. Oh, you want me to come and say, yeah, sure, I'd love to go. That's forgiveness. That's what real forgiveness is. Real forgiveness is seeing another as yourself, and knowing that you have made those same mistakes or something similar. And the lesson comes from being forgiven. You know, the lesson doesn't actually come from a consequence from that decision. That's not where the lesson is. I used to think that was it. But that's never been it. The lesson has always been in forgiveness. It's always been me forgiving someone or someone forgiving me. And it's because we're all people, you know? And there's nothing wrong with you. If you've done bad things in your life, well, we all have, okay? And yeah, we can all sit down and we can agree that there are some things that, we would consider the worst, One of the things you have to realize is that karma is a law. What you put out will return. You put out kindness and love and affection without the intent of getting it in return. You just do that because that's who you are. And you're going to find it's always returned. I've seen time and time again the selfish person who goes out there and they do something nice for somebody and they're like, why isn't my life getting better? And you're like, dude, well, you only did it one time and you're fucking everyone else over, okay? But, so you did one good deed and you think that it's like, hello? I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, it's like I had to explain that to my ex. I mean, it's like, she was like, do you think I should make this guy give me gas money? I mean, like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like, dude, I mean, do you need it? Well, no, not really. It's like, okay, then what? Then no. I mean, if you're asking somebody if it's right, if you do said thing, then it's probably not something you should do. I mean, that's basically your intuition. You're feeling bad essentially about it, and so you're looking for justification, or you're looking for somebody else to tell you that, no, that's not bad. No, yeah, that part. It's and nobody else can make those decisions but you. And I mean, trust me, okay? I'm a friggin' Libra, man, and I mean, you want to give a Libra a bad time, give him options. Because, I mean, if I have to make my mind up about something, you might as well pack a bag and get ready to stay the night because it's going to take me forever to decide to go out to where we're going to go out to eat. Yeah, I mean, it's that bad. I mean, it's just because we get stuck in our head. I mean, we start thinking because, by the time you've gotten in the vehicle and we're going to go somewhere, I've already thought about the 300 aspects that are involved in just going out to eat at Chili's. Okay. Well, I know she doesn't like this and I don't really like that. It's going to give me heartburn. I don't really know if I want that. Do I want a beer? She's probably not going to want to drink. It's like those things are real and they're going off in your head the entire time, and you're sitting there going like, dude, and then they get in the car and they're like, so where are we going? You're like, I don't know. Where do you want to eat? And that's how that's how it goes. It's quite funny. It's funny to sit there and think about. Now let's talk about coping with, I'm going to talk from bipolar standpoint. What I have found in my life dealing with bipolar, I spent many, many years trying to understand it. I did what doctors told me was impossible. They say, oh, you can't ever, you can't ever, bipolar just go into remission. Bullshit. It absolutely does. The question is, when are you going to put it in remission? When are you going to sit long enough without medication, without anything, and learn what triggers it? When are you going to sit there long enough and go, oh, so that's what a psychosis feels like? Because most people, I admit, they go, oh, a psychosis? Yeah, I end up getting put in a thing and getting a shot in the ass. Well, I'm sorry that that's what you go through. Sounds like you believe that psychosis is bad. Because that's what we've been taught, right? No, that is where the fallacy is. Because psychosis isn't bad, necessarily. Depending on why there's a psychosis. The thing about psychosis is psychosis is a reaction, right? It's what I believe to be a defense mechanism. So then I think that where you should go with that is you should look inside and go, well, why am I having this defense mechanism? Why is this triggered? Why am I thinking like this? Why am I so suspicious of everyone around me? What is causing this? Because psychosis is really easy to notice in yourself if you self-reflect. Okay, if you know how you normally think, then it's really not hard to know when you're not thinking normally. For instance, I'm normally not suspicious of people. I expect every person that comes into my life to hurt me in some way. And I've had people tell me, they're like, why do you put up with people like that? Blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, because I'm not bitter like you, and I recognize the fact that people are people. They're humans. Every person is going to make a mistake. And so if you have the bar at, I'm expecting you to make a mistake that's going to hurt my feelings one day, then it's no surprise when it happens. As a matter of fact, you get surprised when it doesn't happen, which I'm still waiting for that surprise, by the way. I haven't really had that one yet. It makes life easier. And it also makes it easier to get rid of somebody when they don't stop hurting you. But most importantly, what it does is it shows people what real love looks like. Because anybody can go around saying, "Oh, I love everybody," bullshit. No, you don't. You're still holding resentment against your girlfriend from 8 years ago. I can be honest with you. I don't even think about mine. I don't even. I just like. They're not even a blip on my radar anymore. Because I'm so past that. Why am I going to sit there and focus on my past? These people that have hurt me, and they don't want to be in my life. Why am I going to let that get me down? Why am I going to be depressed about that? I should really think about why I'm depressed that somebody else doesn't want to be around me. I mean, why would that depress you? Let's really get into that. Let's think about that for a minute. Why are you depressed about that? I'll wait. Well, that's because you feel like you're losing something. What are you losing? You're losing somebody who doesn't care, or somebody who thinks they can get better, Nah. You're probably losing somebody who has not put hardly anything into a relationship with you. Somebody who probably doesn't know what they want, probably doesn't know how to be a friend, probably somebody who you've never actually been able to rely on, but we'll give ourselves the illusion that we can. That happens a lot. You see it all the time. I used to be delusional and make up excuses for the people that I cared about. But I don't anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to see the best in everybody. And I believe that everybody is inherently good. To be honest with you, I think hurt people hurt people. I don't think that any of us really come into this world, with an actual desire to hurt people. I think most people hurt somebody out of fear. I think that's what it comes from. Because I think that the reality is, I think that most everything that happens to us from another person or that really depresses us, it all comes from fear. It's all fear. Our fear of loss, our fear of, whatever. There's so many different things that we fear. And I think that we should all realize that. We should all realize that there's nothing in this life to fear other than fear itself. So why fear it? Because it's it's just a concept, right? Why are you afraid of something that's going to happen to you anyways? Because when death comes, it's never coming at the wrong time. That's, man, wrapping your head around that alone, that thought process right there is it's pretty crazy. Death never comes at the wrong time. Death always comes at the contracted time, when you were supposed to die. There's not a single person that left too early or left too late. Every one of us die at the time that we signed up to die at. I'm one of those people. I don't believe that we're just magically put here. That it's just a coincidence that we so happen to come into life. That's why numerology, I feel like, is so powerful. That's why tarot is a thing. For the longest time, I didn't believe that. I say that. I've always believed that you could see the future, mainly because when I was young, I had visions. When I was a kid. I had my first vision when I was 16. It's like 16 or 17. And I was hanging out with these guys, and I saw, right before it happened, I saw somebody getting arrested, and it was one of the guys we were with. And I tried to get everybody to turn around and go back. I was like, guys, we need to go back. We need to go back. It's just not going to be a good thing if we cross the street, because I just, it's almost like I went to sleep. We were like walking. I looked down. I looked over here this way, and then it's like, and I was like dreaming, and I just remember I saw, us cross the street, and then the cops came out of nowhere, and he just went to jail. For ecstasy tabs. And that's exactly what happened. Imagine the thought process you must be having whenever the person that you're walking with literally says something to you. They're like, hey man, we need to go back. I told you not to bring that bag. And then you deny that because you're too lazy to walk back, put the bag back, and then go walk across the street. That you're going to walk across the street. And then, I shit you not, as soon as we got to the other side, pew, freaking cop car, dude just turns left onto our street. And they just stopped. I shit you not, they grabbed this Crown Royal bag. Yeah, they grabbed it and they just threw it on the hood of the car. Just, the innards of it. And just started, they pulled out this cotton out of this bottomless, vitamin bottle. And there was like a bunch of tabs in there. And I was just like, oh shit, and I'm just standing here and it's all so surreal, how do you explain situations like that? One of the things I've often tried to explain to somebody, because let me tell you something about philosophy. Philosophy knows XYZ. Okay, it knows it. I'm not saying the proof comes from what you call in religion discernment. The truth comes from what is called in philosophy deduction. It's by removing all contrary statements, things, anything that could prove this thing wrong. It's setting it up against that and putting it to the test to see if there is anything that can be stated or proven to prove it wrong, right? And if there's no knowledge or no thought process available to prove this thing wrong, then the premise is true. When the premise is true, then whatever it is that you're speaking about is true. Okay? We're not talking about rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of arguing. It's just the art of argue. And whether the point's right or not, that doesn't matter. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about logic. The basis of metaphysics, too, is in the same manner. It is about truth. It has never been about accepting what cannot be proven true. Same thing with science. Where do you think science gets it from? The problem that science has today is that, I guess the scientific method, in my opinion, makes it to where if you can't prove something right, then you're just going to add things to the theory until you come to a conclusion that, well, this is how it's possible. It's just, science pisses me off. Anyhow, back to what I was stating. Where I was going with all this was through spirituality, I was able to find my century, if you will. I was able to find balance and understanding. That's why I often say, and I've been getting ready to release my philosophy on this whole thing. For too long, science has tried to prove that consciousness is created by a brain. I'd beg to differ. I personally think that this entire universe is an enormous conscious entity. I think that the planet's rotating around the sun. I think that the earth itself, it's all conscious. Just like whenever you look at religious doctrines that say that you're created in God's image. Well, what is it to be created in God's image? What does that mean? And the other question is when we're talking about life, when a mother and father get together and have a child, are they creating life? Be it that is our assumption, then I think it would be easy to conclude that the realization that you are God, but God is also you, right? Like that's the catch-22. Being that one thing the Buddhists don't have correct is that each individual consciousness is an individual consciousness. It is its own individual manifestation. Now, whether God's experiencing that manifestation, that can be debated. We don't know. But I remember when I asked in my own mind's eye, when I asked God myself what it was to be made in his image. And the vision that I saw was meiosis. I saw a cell butting into another cell. And that's when I realized that it's not our body that is made in God's image. Because that's just the physical. That's not eternal. That's not everlasting. That's not who we are. It was consciousness butting into another consciousness. That is who you are. And that's why when you really understand it all and you see it for what it is, then you start to realize that your father, your mother, is the universe. It is this one thing. And this one thing that we all are, but yet we're somehow separate from it. It's very weird. It's very hard to wrap your head around. Because it's easy to be misled by the experience that we have here because of dualism. Because our mind only understands things when it's in opposites, So basically what I'm saying is you can't understand what an object is if there is no space, and you can't understand what space is if there's no object. Your mind cannot consciously perceive that, right? Because then you would perceive just one thing. Okay, and so if there was only one thing to perceive, then that would mean that you wouldn't have really any perception. But it is what it is to be in the physical world is to experience this one thing, as separate things, even though they are actually only one thing. You know, the very basis of everything in the universe is all energy. Atheism, you know, I hate to say it, but it really is a very ignorant idea, because one of the things that philosophy has already figured out long ago was that it is impossible for nothing to be something and for something to be nothing, because you are already something. So therefore you will always be and always have been something. And you have never experienced nothing, because nothing doesn't even exist. That's the whole fallacy of it all. That's the paradox, right? You know, that's what's so funny. But that's the problem with our dualistic understanding, is that because something exists, then we automatically assume that nothing exists. But that's the issue. That's the problem. Something is everything. And that's okay. That's what God is. God is everything. You know, and God's a nourishing God. Talk to him every once in a while and tell you, show you. You know, I'm not saying that you need to go pick up a Bible and go read some bullshit that man put down on a piece of paper. Your personal relationship with your spirit is how you're going to have a relationship with God, because God is within you, right? It's not separate. And when I finally learned this, my ability to control my thoughts, you know, not control my thoughts, but my ability to accept me for who I am and recognize that I'm not some bad person. I don't need to change. Even if I could change, what am I going to change? You know, there's nothing to change, because I'm already perfect how I am. You know, the problem was I didn't recognize that. I didn't realize how good I actually was. I put my worth in how good I thought other people were, because I see their, you know, success, or I see their whatever. But what I failed to realize was, when I was looking over that direction, I didn't see what they did before to get there. That's the problem. I didn't realize that they're already just a step ahead of where I'm at. You know, experience in life is this very interesting thing. You know, it is so funny. And it really makes us ponder. You know, I've thought on that question for a long time. Why am I here? Well, I don't know. Why are you here? You know, that's where I had to go. I'd start going, well, why am I here? Well, I don't know. Why are you? You know, and then you start looking at it from every point you can, until you realize, for me, I learned why I was here. Same reason I come here every time. Show people how to love. Show people how to forgive. And to show people how beautiful life is, man. You know, how amazing this place is. How amazing Spirit is. How amazing it is to just be alive. You know, if we sit for a moment and we stop thinking about all the things that we don't have, and we realize just how much we actually have, you'd be amazed at how much your life will change. Every person is beautiful. Everybody. You know, beauty is, just like they say, right? It's in the eye of the beholder. But what is beauty, and where does it come from? You know, I know what we're sexually attracted to. I know what I'm sexually attracted to. You know? But I also know what I think is beautiful. And when I see somebody who is absolutely loving and nurturing and caring and wants to help other people, that's beauty. Anyways, so yeah, I just felt like it was time to get on the microphone. It's been a while. I'm feeling good. You know, today is Monday. It is February 3rd. Hope everybody has a wonderful day today. You know, I just wanted to wake up, I wanted you guys to wake up and have this podcast ready for the morning and just have a nice, uplifting thing to hear about, And, I'm not going to lie, I really do love that we have Trump tweets back. That's one of my favorite things about 2020. Okay, or I'm sorry, about like 2016 onward, right? Was the Trump tweets are just great, man. They're hilarious. I mean, he really is a funny guy. I just, oh man, it's like just the subtle blows, just the hits below the belt you hear whenever he's talking about Biden or something. It's just, I mean, he's always, one thing I love about that man is he says what we all want to say, right? But some of us just don't have the balls to say it. Anyways, I think that we're in for a very interesting, next 4 years. I think it's gonna be a wild ride. I think he's already mixing stuff up. There's a lot of people that are really running with their tail tucked, and that thing is just, it's like in between the legs. You know what I mean? It's just they gone, children. It's quite funny. I'm starting to, I'm getting my lust for life back. I forgot how fun this place is, how entertaining it actually is to be here, and how awesome it is to just be able to breathe. How awesome it is to drink a cup of coffee, feel the touch of somebody else, make love with somebody, be there for a friend, go out and have a drink and a laugh. All the things that we take for granted, those are the real beautiful things in life. So anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. Any of you guys who are going off to work, don't let your boss piss you off. Don't let your job stress you out. It's just, you just do what you got to do. There ain't no reason to get stressed about it. Things are going to happen. Always know that everything's going to work out for the best. Even though you might not be able to understand what the best is. At the end of the day, it's always going to be what's best. And one thing I want everybody to realize too, every one of you are eternal. You don't have a choice. Really. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but from my experience, you don't. And if you're suffering from depression or bipolar or, BPD or something like that, and you really want to change, go inside. Get you a coin. I've always flipped a coin. That's what I do. I flip a coin. And that's always helped me with, being able to talk to my higher self. It's always helped me to discern my feelings, what I want, what I think, where I want to go with things, what I want to do. Stop chasing money and power and all these things that you can't take with you. The only thing that leaves this place with you is the experience of it. That's it. That's the only thing you got. And you best believe you remember the experience in the next life. It's just in a different way. That's why you just know not to do certain things, and you don't even know why. Think about that, right? If the body, so-called, goes through evolution, what makes you think your spirit doesn't too? So, anyways, all you out there, all you spiritual sojourners who are just like myself, recognize that you're temporarily in this place. I love you all, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this, if you like what you hear, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.